Today from the Wise News Network, I'm Rusty Wise.
I'm Mason Beam.
And I'm Grace Smith.
And we are in the studios for Who Gives a Hoot number 10. Number 10th episode.
Yep.
Which is also audio only on Spotify and on the website.
Yes. And if you want to find that, look up Who Gives a Hoot on Spotify or go to our page, wisenewsnetwork.com/podcast. Is it /podcast? I think it's /podcast.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll put it on the screen somewhere.
Well, let's start off by our accreditation by the North Carolina Press Association. Yes. So Fake News Network is accredited by the North Carolina Press Association. So,
we sure are.
But we applied and the board accepted us into the organization. So we're accredited now. So we've always abided by journalistic standards and AP standards. And now we definitely have to.
Yes.
So, but we always have anyway.
Exactly. And now we'll have access to a bunch of resources that'll help us out. For example, a free legal hotline. And I know that that's something that we have encountered quite a bit, where there'll be a story where we need to know some kind of little bit of legal information. But obviously we don't want to spend $200 asking a lawyer for an hour of their time. So that is very helpful, along with other classes and stuff we can take. And so it's very exciting.
Yeah, a lot of times we have questions, the legalities of certain processes and procedures, whether it be in business or government, and it's going to be a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll give us the opportunity to reach out whenever we need to and get legal advice, whether that be on something we're doing or just whatever is around the situation that we're looking into.
So congratulations, team, on our accreditation.
Yay, team.
Yeah.
Go, guys.
Well, and let's move on to Coach Pruitt retiring from the Cherryville Ironmen football team as the head coach. And so we have a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
And the new coach is actually Patrick Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys probably saw the piece last Friday that we put out on Patrick. So Mr. Bowman, the head coach. So cool.
Very exciting.
From Crest High School, which is a Division 3 or 4 school, which is a lot larger than Cherryville, and they've won several state championships. So
it was a quick turnaround. It feels like we just interviewed Coach Pruitt about his retirement, maybe nothing more than 3 weeks ago.
It was 3 weeks.
Here we are back at Cherryville High School to hear the press conference about their new coach. Mm-hmm. And one thing I know for certain, whether it's Coach Pruitt and his legacy or Patrick Bowman, their new coach, I know that the Cherryville High School football team and athletics department in general really has a good support system. It seems like everyone we've talked to in the athletic department really cares about their job, really cares about the kids, and I think that that's great to see.
I like the fact that Patrick was telling the children that the grades come first.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do. Kids have to have good grades, get in good colleges, even if they are going for athletic scholarships, even though plenty of them did raise their hand saying they are going for college teams. So that's good to hear.
Very good.
And then seeing them all huddle together at the end for their first huddle, that was nice.
Very touching. And Coach Pruitt, he also, future was one of his 4 Fs. And so schoolwork, that's really touching to see. The fact that the Cherryville High School athletics department has so much faith in their kids doing well in school. And I think that really puts them apart from other schools in the area, I'm sure. I mean, school comes first.
Yeah. When it comes to sports are good for kids. It keeps them active. Cherryville is a 1A school, which makes it a little difficult in today's environment. But the Ironmen, how it's got its name is there was 11 original players, and I think that's all they had.
Wow.
So, and then they won, and they called them the Ironmen because all 11 players played offense and defense.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was way back.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so, and, Cherryville being a 1A school has a lot of competition now with charter schools. And so all the athletes in the area that should be going to public school, they're going to these charter schools. So the pickings are kind of slim when it comes to the student population and athletes.
Yes. And like you were saying earlier, it also does lead to a lot of conflicts in the schedule where you can't be, say, in music and be on the football team because there's not enough players to do so. They can't be out for half the game playing in the band.
Yeah, I know. I've talked to some students, and it's hard for them to do both now. Now, when I was in school, we were in the band, and there's a lot of football players that played in the band, but I don't think you see that much anymore. It's like if you pick a sport like football, you can't really do band, and I think band consumes so much of their time that they can't play sports.
Well, I do know from living across the road from where they practice, at least during football season, they'll be out there about as long as the football players. They might be out there until 5 p.m. practicing. So I can see where that would get in the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving along, the next item we have is Jeeping for a Cause, the Tyler Herndon event. And that's always a good event. I think it was the 4th year that they had it. I think so.
Yes. I believe it was the 4th year.
And we had Miss Turner in that interviewed about that. It's always a great event. So
yeah, it was very touching to get to talk to the people who are kind of behind organizing that event. I do wish we could have talked to Officer Herdman's parents as well. I know that y'all did last year when you went to the event itself. We kind of just did an announcement this year, and they came into the studio, and that was very nice. It's always good to hear and do stories about community coming together to uplift voices and support a good cause.
Yeah, it's a great event. I know, police protection, fire protection, we love those guys and gals. They protect us. Might step on a few toes now, but, when we honor a fallen public servant, sometimes we just kind of blow it out of proportion. There's deaths every day in job-related accidents, whether it be plumbers, electricians, truck drivers. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we kind of got some flack and some comments about us covering that event, and some of the comments were, why don't you cover other deaths? And as a population and as humans, we kind of put different social values on lives. And so a car accident might make a 5-minute, the 5 p.m. newscast. But if an officer dies or something like that, it gets more coverage, is what I'm trying to say, whether it be a firefighter, policeman, or anybody as a public servant. I'm not saying it's not needed, but there are a lot of deaths out here every day that get zero coverage. So as a society, we kind of put, I wouldn't say a price tag, but I would say we put social value on different lives.
There's different weighting for sure. I think that one thing that plays into this as well, unfortunately, when you're hearing about the death of an officer or say the death of a firefighter, unfortunately, based on that line of business that they're in, the deaths are usually very, very sometimes graphic. When you hear of a firefighter who's been killed on the job, it's usually fire related, either smoke inhalation or burn related, which is very jarring to the public to hear about. When you hear about an officer who dies on the job, it's usually because of a shooting, which is just horrible to hear as well. And so I think that the fact that these positions put them in more danger, say, than other occupations, that could be part of it. But you brought up a really great point earlier. Electricians die all the time. When you become an electrician, you're putting yourself in the occupation where you have to understand, okay, I could get electrocuted and I could die. And I think that there's always something to remember, that no matter what you're doing, no matter what line of business you're in, you're putting yourself in danger. I mean, even as journalists, you hear all the time, journalists get killed. We very rarely get any kind of accolades or any kind of, recognition when a journalist does die. But unfortunately, there is a social weight, I think. Whether there should be or shouldn't be is another question.
And in counterpoint to that exact thing, I know all of the local Cherryville residents know of what happened last month. Was it last month?
Yeah, it was a little over a month ago, probably.
Everyone knows what happened. And while that was televised on some of the major news networks and we wrote our own article about it, it's kind of went away at this point. There isn't going to be a memorial for the man, obviously. He was in the wrong. But
well, they had a service.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was lightly attended, I understand.
Yeah. But it's the exact opposite of a police officer losing their life in service. And you can see how different it is to that when you really examine the situation, because he was someone who lost his life. He was shot. It was graphic, obviously, but yet again, it's a value and weight thing.
Yeah, it's the social weight of it, you know, and it's like a politician, you know, passing away will get more. And I think when it comes to public service, it just seems like a lot of times there's a lot more attention to that. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not saying it is wrong at all, but it's just a social weight of death. It's like if a plane goes down tomorrow, it'll be on the news everywhere.
Yes.
But if someone gets killed in a car wreck, it might make the local news, but it's not going much farther.
No.
So it's just, you know, what grabs everyone's attention at the time.
Unless they're a politician.
Correct. Yeah. Moving right along, y'all went to a smelly place. And what do I mean by smelly place?
Good smelly, not bad smelly.
Noble Artistry. Tell me a little bit about that, because y'all were really talking about how good it smelled in there.
That was and is the first thing you're going to notice walking into that shop. It's down at the end of Main Street. Well, not the end of Main Street, but the end of the main part of Cherryville's Main Street. And it's a newly opened business by, what was her name again, Grace?
Cindy Jo.
Cindy Jo. And Cindy has been doing this since a young age, since she was a teenager. She described to us that she, you know, didn't waitress or anything. She did flower decoration. And her whole family is in it. Well, not whole family, but her mother and her daughter. So it's a generational thing at this point. And I mean, I was in there taking pictures of everything like I like to do. And it's just beautiful in there. It's beautiful. It smells wonderful. Yeah. Definitely check them out.
Yeah, I love they kept saying it's a generational flower power, which I thought was beautiful. And she explained that what got her into gardening and the floral industry to begin with is also her grandfather had a greenhouse. They're from Illinois. And so everything about that business is sentimental, down to the business itself of being in the floral industry, to the name Noble Artistry, which is an ode to her father who had passed away. He was from Noble, Illinois. And they wanted to honor him because his passing is what inspired her to switch from being in hospice to having a flower shop. She wanted to have a business that could honor her father, and also her mother wanted to come and work with her after the passing of her father. So I think that it was a really good and cathartic way for them to honor a bunch of different people in their lives.
And then also on the subject of smell, flowers are not all they offer. Grace, you got a little gift.
I did get a gift. I got a lotion candle, which is really cool. You light it like a regular candle, except you can use the wax as warm lotion on your skin before you go to bed. And I've been using it, and my hands have never smelled better, and they've also never been softer. So I would really recommend. I got the cherry bomb flavor, and it's really good. And Cindy, thank you so much for the gift if you're watching.
Cool. Got a question. What do they do with the styrofoam and the stands and all that stuff after the funeral? Do they throw it in the trash? Do they reuse it? What do they do with it?
I know we talked about this right when we were publishing the piece. So one cool thing about Noble Artistry and Cindy Jo is that they do completely custom arrangements, and they do arrangements based on the personalities or hobbies of the people who have passed, Or if you're getting married, doesn't have to be a funeral. You can get any kind of personalized custom arrangement. But I know they talked about this one in particular where there was a young man who liked to ride horses, and she made him an arrangement for his funeral out of a saddle and his lasso that he used. So I would imagine that they kept those, like those items and those arrangements. But honestly, that's a really good question about what they do with just your typical arrangement.
Yeah, if you know, I mean, if it's a live arrangement or a peace lily, the family keeps that
Mhm.
generally. But I'm talking about if it's artificial flowers or the stands and the styrofoam and all that stuff. What happens to all that? Is it thrown in the trash? Is it recycled? Does it go back to the florist? I mean, what's? I guess something after the funeral, everybody wants to be done with it. So I guess if you know, comment on the link below.
It would be interesting. Go ahead and tell us. And I do know that with the styrofoam, though, it only lasts about a year because I've had some sitting in my house for the past year and it's starting to disintegrate. So
Yeah, it's like biodegradable maybe or something. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, if you know what happens to flower arrangements after the funeral, let us know. Comment below. Question another day. Moving right along, the bearded villains.
Mhm.
That sounds like a movie trailer, a
yes.
movie title.
They definitely are not malicious in any manner, luckily for everyone around. But what they were doing in Cherryville is one of the people you've seen on here before, Matt Aldridge. His neighbor is Mr. Glenn, and Mr. Glenn is a veteran that has had some mobility issues recently, well, in the past couple of years, and he lives alone, so there's not really too much he can do. He doesn't have a car. He is living off of what his government allowance at the moment, and he can't like go outside and take care of his yard and stuff anymore. While the Aldridges do help with keeping his lawn maintained in a general sense, they also can't, go over there all the time and do all of the yard work that needs to be done. So Matt contacted the Beard Villains, which he's part of, and brought the Queen City chapter out here at Cherryville to do some good work. And that was 2 Saturdays ago, and they went and trimmed all the bushes. They fixed all the trees. They got up on the roof and cleaned out the gutters. They cleaned off the back porch. Just did everything in the yard that Mr. Glenn cannot currently get to himself. And that was amazing of them. But there are also other problems that Mr. Glenn has, such as a hot water heater that doesn't work. That, if anyone in the community feels like doing some charitable work, that really needs to be done, because right now we've got a veteran in our community who's boiling water to be able to clean himself. So
Do you have to have a beard to be a bearded villain?
you do have to have a beard.
That leaves me out. I can't grow a beard.
The Bearded Villains, in case you're unaware, it's a national organization. So there are a bunch of different chapters all around the country, but also outside of the country. They have international chapters as well. And it's just a group of bearded dudes who love to do good for their community. I know that sounds weird, but like it's a beard club. Kind of like a fraternal organization almost. They call each other brother, and they have such a good like brotherly bond. And they all are just connected by wanting to do good in their communities. They do a bunch of different charitable events. So if you have a beard and you are a charitable person, check out the nearest Bearded Villain chapter near you.
Man or woman.
Oh, yeah. Bearded women are also welcome.
There used to be one at the fair. You remember that?
I do remember that. That was back when they still had the sideshow acts at the fair. I don't think that's deemed appropriate anymore. But
in today's world, you don't know. I mean, I don't want to get down this road, but I can't tell men or women anymore. I was somewhere the other day, and I was pointing to Ann. I said, "Is that a man or a woman?" It's like, I don't know. I mean, you can't tell anymore. It's like, I mean, that's what's happening to society. I mean, you can't even tell who's who anymore.
You can't tell, and you're really not allowed to ask.
And if you can't, it's safe to use they.
Yeah. Use they.
It. You can't use it.
You can. Some people do have it as their preferred pronoun, but it's generally not considered appropriate to call people it.
Okay, let's just take everything. No gender, no race, no anything. Are you human?
No.
Okay, let's just take it. Let's just take all labels off.
That is why I use exclusively the word dude. It includes all genders. It's everyone's dude. Yeah.
A female could be a dude.
Yeah, females can be dudes.
When did this
These
happen?
days. I like being called dude. I call all my friends dude.
That must be something new. I thought dudes were guys.
It is a male gendered pronoun, but it can be used for both.
What is like a nickname to call like a girl? Like what's the girl equivalent of dude?
Chica? No?
I don't like
Why
that.
are you looking at me like that, Grace?
If someone called me Chica, unless it was another woman, I'd probably feel uncomfortable. Hey,
Okay.
Chica.
The only time I feel uncomfortable is if calling somebody Miss or Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond that, I got nothing. I don't know. I mean, anyway, moving right along. We're going to get in trouble if we keep talking. Let's see. City of Cherryville. Let's see. We've been to several meetings, some city council meetings and some work sessions. The road closure, that kind of got nixed in the
Vernon
bud.
Street.
Yeah, that they spent $800 something in publicity to publicize the closure. Then they figured out they couldn't close it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened there. I would say next time before you spend a lot of money, just research whether you could even do what you're trying to do.
And then what was brought up at the last work session we attended is they're going to have to raise the price there again because they just raised it to $500 in figuring out what they want to do here. And they realized, like you said, they spent $800, so they can't do that anymore.
So they're raising the pricing for advertising, or
they're raising the pricing to at least match the price of advertising. They didn't actually discuss what they're going to raise it to, but it needs to be above $800 because the city loses $300 in that deal right now.
okay,
Yeah, they're going to change some of the fees. I think curb cutting or the asphalt cutting's going up. Purchasing the trash cans,
the bins,
some other things.
Mm-hmm.
And they also approved a new museum board.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think the museum board has met. We do not know the president and the treasurer and all that yet. So that's kind of one chapter closing of that episode or chapter of the museum. So we'll be reporting on that.
Mhm.
Yes.
See how they're moving along.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, honestly, pretty tame month in the world of Cherryville, city council and government, to be
Mhm.
honest.
But they put 5 on there. I am surprised of one, which is Malcolm Parker.
Yes.
And he was in the middle of that mess last year, and he kind of got back on there.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have put anybody that was involved in any of that fiasco last year. My opinion. This is opinion-based show. This is not fact. This is our opinions.
Mm-hmm. That's why we do this, by the way, is because, like we said, with our news reporting, we try to stay truthful, factual, in the correct style.
We do stay.
You're
don't
right,
try.
Grace. We do. But
I'm stating facts.
I know
Am I not stating facts?
you are actually. But we can be a little bit looser here, and that's why we do this.
Okay. Anyway, I would not have put him on there. He can volunteer, help all you want, but he was part of the fiasco. I know they don't like that, but it was. I mean, it was good for the news business, but it was comical. You could write a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe his experience on the council maybe it'll lend itself to some positive change on the board because he's got government experience, knows how the city council works, so he can maybe work as like a liaison.
You got Janice on there that is the liaison with the city, and they ran against each other in the election, and now they're supposed to work together. Now, it happens in Washington, D.C. all the time, but I don't know about Cherryville.
That's a good point.
I bet we'll see him getting lunch. in the next few months. That's my prediction.
But
for
you understand what I'm
2024.
saying? Because that election got kind of dirty there towards the end.
Yeah.
And so we're going to put you in right on a board that may be conflictual down the road. I wouldn't have done that, but I'm not in city power.
Yeah, it's definitely a confusing scenario to set up, if anything. Hopefully it doesn't lead to conflict, and we'll find the former competitors getting along and helping out the museum to get to where the city government kind of wanted it, where it's open more. And I know everyone wants to open more.
100%.
But you had, what, 15 or 16 applicants?
Yes.
16. Yeah, 16. Which is a really good turnout. I think they were saying that it's the best turnout out of any appointed board. So I think that this whole situation, I know we've said it before, but it's really brought in the community closer to the museum. I think it's really helped people see the importance of having history preserved in ethical and secure ways. I know the building still needs a lot of work to make sure that it is the proper environment for these artifacts that they're trying to preserve. So hopefully that is coming soon. I know we've talked to the city about that, and they do plan on making those changes that the building itself needs.
Yeah, the moisture's getting in the back, and that needs to be remedied quick.
Yes, before it starts affecting the artifacts.
Yeah. It did. It ruined a couple pictures already. Okay. Yeah.
That's not good.
And I think it's just a gutter issue. It's nothing major. It's just been neglected.
Get the bearded villains up there.
Now, the city has money to put into that building if they choose to. I'll say, moving right along, what else? I say new budget. They're working on the new budget. And that will be coming out in June.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think July 1st is the budget.
What's
July 1st is a new budget year.
I know they're about to go attend some sort of convention. What is it they're doing?
I don't know where they were going.
Somewhere in Huntersville?
It is in Huntersville, but I can't remember.
They transportation meeting or something.
Okay.
Was it not? I don't know.
I
they
can't remember at the moment either.
They never really said. It was just kind of chatter off the record. Something they was trying to figure out how they were going to get there or something. I don't know. The cherry trees, they talked about the cherry trees, and they finally got that money allocated where it could be accepted in the budget and all that. So the cherry trees are getting planted and taken care of. At least they're getting planted. The taken care of is questionable. We'll see.
Yes, and one of the ideas from Sid, the one leading the project, was that in the drier seasons, hopefully the city could help out by watering them either with the fire trucks or with the gator truck that has a water tank on the back of it. And then I'm going to mention this here because it's funny, but Sid has told the city council that he is not going to bother them for a whole year. And it's on video.
They need to put that on DraftKings so I'd make a killing off that bet. There's no way Sid won't be back at a council meeting for a year. So we'll see.
The cherry trees do look beautiful, though. They're in bloom right now.
I've taken plenty of photos.
They do look good.
Yeah. Spring is a great time, other than the pollen.
Yeah.
Other than the pollen, it's nice that, a little warmth comes. You can go outside on your deck. It feels good.
I never had allergies until I moved to North Carolina.
Ooh.
The North Carolina pollen is fierce. Like, first, I never had allergies. In the first year I moved here, my eyes were puffy and watering, and I was coughing even though I wasn't sick. I'm still not used to it, to be honest.
Well, where you moved to initially was a temporal rainforest. There's so many different trees and varieties of things to actually enact on that.
My allergies are worse here than they were in Carborough or in Boone, actually.
Okay, that's interesting.
Weird.
Blame it on the cherry trees. Be like the Bradford pear, there's a war on Bradford pears, and that was the greatest tree ever cultivated. 30, 40 years ago, it was supposed to be the tree. And now they found out that it's not native. So the insects, it can kill insects and the bees, and it's not a good species.
I mean, I know it's harmful to the insect population, and which, works its way up the chain, but I still love mine. Mine produces plenty of pears every year, and I make jam out of it.
We're cutting it down.
And no, you're not.
But Cherryville used to have cherry trees that actually produced cherries that people made pies out of. But I don't see those around here anymore.
Wasn't it they were killed off by some form of blight?
That's what Sid said. I think that they got sick.
I know we planted 3 at the offices here, and 1 died a couple years later, but so we still have 2. And they're late bloomers.
Yeah.
Whatever variety that is.
It's still not in bloom.
No, but it's a really bright pink when it does.
Okay, I can't wait to take photos of that one.
Yeah, yeah. And moving right along, on Pine Street was the abatement house, which had some issues and had the big sign in front of it. What did the sign say?
No trespassing.
Basically.
Yeah.
No
By order of the Cherryville Police Department.
Yeah. That is like when big news happens like that around Cherryville, you don't really hear very often that a house is being abated. But that's why it's nice that we're local here. So when something like that does happen, I think we were the first news organization in North Carolina to report about it. So that was good work on us, Mason. That was when Rusty was out of town.
See, y'all do better work when I'm not around. I'll just keep going on vacation. How's that? I went on vacation. It's a business trip.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on the abatement house, they did mention that in the meeting on Tuesday. And one thing that I was glad to hear about is they didn't jump directly to abatement.
Mm-hmm.
They offered to the resident there that she could go to rehab and, keep her property and everything. And she denied that. So that's why they moved forward like they did. But they're also mentioned in the meeting that they have their eyes on 2 more houses. So
yes. And the house, it was the power of attorney was passed over to the former owner's family member. So the house will still stay in their family. It's not like been taken like away from the family. It's not been seized. It's just been abated. And I'm glad to hear, I wasn't actually at the work session on Tuesday, but I'm glad to hear that they tried to offer the former owner some help. And I hope that they get the help that they deserve.
Let's see, anything else in Cherryville? I mean, there's stuff going on all the time, but that's about the highlights. We've hit the high spots. The next thing on the topics are the Duke University water study.
Mm-hmm.
And that coincides with Piedmont Lithium, but it's really the whole lithium belt all the way from basically the state line all the way up to Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
And they want everyone in that area to do the test.
Yep. That's interesting. And if you live, obviously Mason will throw up on the screen the map of where the belt is. But if you live within these boundaries, then there's a possibility that you could get your well checked. And I think that everybody who lives within there should do it, if not to help the study, but for themselves. It's really important to know what's going into your water. So go ahead and get that done if you can. And even if you don't live within those boundaries and you have a well and you live in this area, I think that there's a good chance that I'm going to restart that.
Yeah, they're trying to get a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they may do some studies outside the boundary to see the difference.
Right. And they should as well for control and stuff like that.
So they're trying to get a baseline of what's the water quality inside the area and then sort of what it is outside the area. But the only way they can do it is people have to volunteer.
Yeah. And they're trying to determine basically what they're looking for in the study is they're trying to see how lithium mining has impacted the area, because this area of North Carolina used to be where all of the lithium was from. Back in, I think, like the 70s and 80s. It's where all the lithium production was from this area.
Well, back in the atom bomb.
Right, when they were doing they were mining for the atom bomb. And
right out of Cherryville.
Right, that's pretty crazy. I had not known that before I moved here.
Technically.
But they're trying to see how past mining has affected the water table, and also with Albemarle and Piedmont Lithium opening mines in this area, trying to see how future mining could potentially affect the water table as well. So,
Yeah, and it may be fine, but humans, we don't want to find out 50 or 100 years down the road. What were those idiots thinking?
I mean,
it used to be smoking. Doctors would come in the doctor's office smoking a cigarette. How you doing today? And at one time, and I think it only lasted a small while, that cigarettes were healthy for you.
Yes. The original advertisements for cigarettes were mood stabilizing, energy, helping you with your energy levels, stuff like that. Also, I think for a long time, they're actually prescribed by doctors to help with allergies, which is something that actually does work. They will help with allergies.
Oh,
What, the nicotine in it or something?
I better start smoking.
Well, when you get a bee sting, they used to say, put a cigarette on it.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, when I was little, that's what they did. The tobacco and nicotine, I guess, in the tobacco would ease the stinger area.
Ooh.
That's strange to think about, but it's also, like I said a second ago, it's strange to think about living in 2024. Can you imagine a doctor prescribing you to go smoke a cigarette?
They will if it means money. Yeah, I mean, in today's world, there's a lot of stuff that's not good for us that they push on us that's healthy, and
Yeah.
Look, when you can go buy 2-liter Sun Drop cheaper than you buy
Water.
a little pint of water, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, how do we get up? We get on this health food stuff about every
time.
every time.
We do.
Anyway, get your water tested.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put the link up here, and Mason will put it into, I guess, in the text below. Moving right along, I wrote an article about why Easters are on different Sundays. And I had a headache after that. Because doing the research, it was interesting, but it's kind of confusing. But basically, in a nutshell, it's by the full moon. And the only date they really know, or time frame that they know of Jesus' death, is the feast.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the 12 disciples, the feast, all that, they knew that was the week of Passover. So they knew that the crucifixion was within that week or towards the end of that week. So that's why they do it at the first full moon after that. And the full moon is supposed to be symbolizing brightness. And so it's the Paschal lunar calendar.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, I just said, let's just keep it one day and be done with it.
Like the Eastern Orthodox churches.
Yeah, the Eastern, they do theirs in April, always a certain date or within a range. But it can be middle of about the third week of March to about the end of April. And it's like, but people have spring break.
Yes.
So the school systems are all over the place.
Yeah.
So it would probably be beneficial if they kept it the second or third week in April or something, because spring break, it could be snowing or it could be hot.
Yeah.
I mean, welcome to the Carolinas. You have 4 seasons in one day.
So true.
So anyway, read that article. I tried to explain it the best I could. I know there's theologians out there. I know I messed that word up, but doctors of religion out there that's probably ripping it apart. But I didn't get too deep into it because it can, what is Passover? What is a full moon? You could spread that thing out to a book.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it short and sweet and not as confusing as it sort of is.
Yeah.
Very confusing. Very.
And if you are a theologian and maybe you're one of the
that's how you pronounce that.
Yes.
Okay.
If you're maybe one of the Gardner Webb professors or something, go read the article. And then if you find something wrong with it, explain it down in the comments on Facebook for us.
Oh, that is one thing I want to add. If you ever find an inaccuracy in any of our articles or videos or anything, please feel free to email us at newsdesk@wisenewsnetwork.com. Just point out what the inaccuracy is, and we will 100% check it and edit it based on, the validity of the error and write that there was an error, take accountability, all that good stuff. We want to be accurate and truthful 100% of the time. So don't be afraid to point out when we did something wrong.
There's a lot of errors in news.
Mhm.
If you know the story and read it, and a lot of times it's nothing malicious, but
Yeah.
you know, no, they were not cousins. No, they were not. No, they didn't work there. They worked here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just stuff like that. Not intentional, but it's just inaccuracies.
And I think that that's one thing that I'm grateful with our platform and the way that we do things is I think a lot of times those inaccuracies come because they're on such a deadline. They'll do a story, have to write the article within an hour and then post it. So they don't have the time to meticulously go through and edit like we do, which I think definitely helps us. And
Current affairs, we're going to shift things to national stuff. But anyway, the ship hitting the bridge in Baltimore.
Yes, the Francis Scott Key Memorial Bridge.
Yes. Who wrote the Star Spangled Banner.
yeah.
And you know, social media has gone wild. I mean, they think it's intentional. It sped up the ship's engines. You know, you see all that. It was bullseye. It was all intentional to shut down one of the largest ports in the USA. And I know they'll do a study, and it will take them a while. It might be 6 months or a year. They'll eventually figure out what happened, but it could just be an accident.
Yeah.
But the conspiracy theorists out there have already said it was intentional and they meant to shut it down, and it's just crazy.
Well, see, on that, I've seen posts saying the reason why a lot of people think it wasn't an accident is because all of the major political parties stepped forward within 10 minutes of it happening saying it was an accident. So it's literally just government mistrust that's kind of causing that at the moment. And even the head of air traffic control, I think it's air traffic control,
NTSB.
that he even said that everything possible was done to attempt to prevent it and slow down the ship. But
Well, they had some pilots on board, and if you've ever been on a cruise, you know this. I actually videoed the last cruise I was on, but these pilots, they get on, you know, at the terminal or at the dock, and then they steer the ship out into a certain point, and then they jump off the ship into these little pilot boats.
okay.
It's pretty cool to see. They pulls up right beside, and the pilots go out until the ship is out of harbor, safe enough. It's because a lot of times where they dredge, it's only a few feet on each side, so they have to know exactly where to go. And it's pretty interesting, you know. So you got the captain, but you have these pilots
Yeah.
that know where the depths are in these harbors.
God, it's a lot of responsibility to drive a boat of that size. I don't even know where to begin to how people could be, oh yeah, I want to captain cruise ships. That is so much responsibility.
It's bigger than a cruise ship. It's a cargo ship.
Yeah, well,
Right.
you have to start turning way before.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want to make a 30-degree turn, you have to do it, you know, half a mile away or something. I mean, those things don't turn on a dime,
No.
especially with that much weight.
Gosh, how many cruise ships do you think could fit in a cargo ship?
I don't know. They're all big. I mean,
Mhm.
now the cruise ships are about as large as cargo ships.
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge. Have you ever seen a picture beside the Titanic
Mm-hmm.
of
So
just the
much
cruise
bigger.
ships?
Where the Titanic is
It looks like-
dwarfed.
It looks like a little baby.
Mm-hmm.
And also what amazes me is those ships, they could be hundreds of feet up in the air and only 30 or 40 feet, you know, down in the water. I don't know how they stay. I know how they stay afloat, but how they don't tip over.
Goodness. To be honest, cruise ships really scare me. What's the phobia? Thalassophobia? Fear of large objects in the ocean? Cruise ships are very
Fear of
scary.
large objects in the ocean. I didn't know
Yeah.
that was such a thing.
Yeah.
As in a whale? Or is-
Like, I think it's like primarily man-made large objects in the ocean. Like, images that would really freak someone out with this phobia would be like an ancient statue that was submerged in water and like standing tall, but still so much ocean.
So
ahead
people
of
go
it.
crazy at the Statue of Liberty?
If it was submerged completely underwater, I would hate that personally.
Well, it washed up in the Planet of the Apes.
Or,
Remember
like,
that? The original
even-
Planet of the Apes, it
Mhm.
washed up on shore.
Even like, have you ever seen how big a ship anchor is next to a person? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's huge. The chains, the chains are big.
Honestly, those videos are kind of scary where people are just letting out the chain on
Oh,
ships. Yeah. It's like one wrong move and your leg's gone.
Well, they said they did that. They were trying to stop that ship. They knew they were in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how that all pans out. But they don't have like the black box. They have a data recorder, but a ship doesn't have all the parameters that a flight recorder would have.
Right.
There's just only a handful of parameters because actually a ship doesn't take a whole lot to get going. You have rudders and engines and stabilizers and all that, but it's not like a plane.
Yeah.
Moving right along nationally, presidential race. We haven't got into politics other than the Cherryville politics and some local politics, but we got 3 candidates now. We have Biden, Trump, and Kennedy. I don't know if you threw them all in a box, you'd come out with a decent politician, but that's the only 3 we have to pick from.
Yes.
So whether your flavor of right, left, or in the middle, that's what we have to pick from. And it's craziness. It's, I'll turn it to Fox and it could be the same story and it's 180 degrees from what's on CNN and vice versa. Mm-hmm. It's like, here's a yellow rock. Mm-hmm. And by the time those 2 get through with it, it's a red duck. I mean, it's just craziness. It's just craziness. And Kennedy's out there, and I don't know. I think, he might muddy the waters up for both sides. Who knows? There's a lot of independents out there. Then
he's also targeting the younger generation because he's not appearing in major news organizations to do interviews. He's pretty much exclusively doing social media based stuff, joining podcasts like Joe Rogan's podcast and things that younger audiences are listening to. So that's kind of who he's aiming at.
He's leading in the polls amongst every voting poll for people under 30 or 25. I'm not exactly sure.
It's under 30.
He's leading in young people in every poll, apparently. At least according to his campaign materials, which we all know politicians take liberties with their campaign materials. But yeah, it's interesting. Honestly, politics gives me a headache these days.
It's just kind of funny watching the stories, though, how opposite, 180 degrees the stories are. And we've talked about this earlier. There's so much noise in media now. It's just so confusing. Mm-hmm. You don't even know what to believe anymore. It's just like a room full of chatter, and you got to try to decipher what's real and what's not. And it's very confusing to the average voter, yes. I think, in today's world.
I think the Supreme Court should be hearing whether or not Donald Trump can really even run soon, right?
Yeah, they've already.
That's why.
Have they already?
Yeah, they've already said that case was dismissed.
Yeah, okay. I think he's cleared.
Yeah, but I mean, they've got so many things that they're charging him for. So, he'll wind up running for president. There'll be a vote. I don't know what they'll take over the next time. Maybe it's the Lincoln Memorial. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just craziness. Whether you believe it was a resurrection or
the resurrection.
The resurrection.
I had Easter on my mind. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, you get into politics. We're not left. We're not right. We try to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. And if that falls right, so be it. If it falls left, so be it. If it falls independent, so be it. And that's where we are.
Yep.
And I think most people deep down really all want the same thing. I understand why somebody would vote for Trump. I really do. On his platform.
Yes.
And I understand why people would vote for Biden on his platform. Take their personal self out of it. I'm just talking about their platform.
Yes.
I see why both sides would vote, and even on the independent side. Mm-hmm. But you got to not look at their personal selves.
Yes.
Because, one they say has got dementia, the other one's a crook.
Yep.
Well, they all might be crooks. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm.
What I know is that it's political theater, and they get lunch together, and they go to each other's weddings, and they hang out after work, and they want us to be the ones fighting about it because they know we all want basically the same thing. Take identity out of it, take like social, I mean, you can't really take social issues out of it because like that's kind of the most important thing that people rally behind, but they're all on the same team. So why shouldn't we all be on the same team? If we stopped, looking at people so differently for their political affiliations, maybe, and had some real unity, we could see some of the real changes that we all want to see.
Term limits.
Yeah, please.
Every time you bring that up, though, it doesn't go far.
I know it doesn't.
Yeah.
One day in a dream, there will be term limits and there will no longer be career politicians.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. But most people want the same thing, but they really want us divided. I mean, they want the sides polarized.
Yes. You can't act as long as you're polarized.
Yeah. If everybody got together in one common force, you can't stop that.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes sense. Anyway, we're not going to get too deep into politics. Anyway, I don't know. Put down below who you're voting for in the presidential race. We might get on the street and ask some people.
Yeah.
See what they think.
Yeah.
Do you guys want us to make a poll on that? Do a little.
Yeah. Are you voting for the person or the platform? There's a difference there.
There is.
Speaking of polls, not meaning to get out of politics, but we have a contest going on.
We do.
Yeah, the Lotta Burger contest, and that is going until May 15th. So there are several different Lotta Burger locations where you can get your favorite Cherryville snack from.
That would be Black's, Home Folks, Vicky's, Max,
Ronald's,
Hefner's, Ronald's,
Medical Center Pharmacy.
The Medical Center Pharmacy, and of course, as I know you all know, the Shake Shop.
Yes. And if you enter into our contest and you vote for your favorite location and you leave your name and email, you get entered in a drawing for a $50 gift card.
But fill the form out.
Yes.
Putting it down in the comments under our post does not count.
Yes, we've had a lot of that. You're not entered if you just comment underneath our post on it.
But we love the discourse. Keep commenting.
And then,
but don't forget to also vote.
Also, guys, we're paying attention. Like, don't do double entries.
She loves the discourse after we just talked about polarizing politicians. What's up with that?
Lotta Burger discourse.
Oh, Lord. But yeah, guys, we're paying attention. Don't double entry. That's just extra work for us, and you're not going to get anything out of it.
I see you.
Grace does see you. She's the one doing it.
So you've got time to eat from, all 8 locations?
Yes.
I think it's 8. Yeah.
It's 8. Go try them out, especially the ones that you probably didn't know had a Lotta Burger.
Right.
I didn't know the Medical Center Pharmacy had.
I didn't either.
Have you tried it yet?
No.
We should soon.
Yeah. Well, we've tried several, so maybe we need to try all of them before May 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll vote for it, maybe.
And that's the opposite of a problem.
I'm trying to lose weight. Maybe that's not a good idea.
I'll eat them. I'll just slurp them all down.
Well, that's about all the time we have for Who Gives a Hoot number 10. We really appreciate everyone watching. Mason will tell you how you can get a hold of us and what all platforms we're on.
Well, firstly, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out at newsdesk at wisenewsnetwork.com. Then you can also reach out in any of our comment sections on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Did I do Facebook twice?
Yes.
YouTube, which is where you're at right now, probably. So go ahead, go on down there, comment what you're thinking about. Whether it has something to do with what we were talking about or anything that you think is newsworthy. We'll look into it, if nothing else. And
even national stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And then also, if you look on our Instagram page and on our website, we have a different form that you can fill out if you would like to do that instead. That'll give us a little bit more background information than just traditional email or comment.
We also have one for Cherryville column, and we've just got our regular story tip form as well.
Yes.
And appreciate all the tips. We've gotten a lot of tips. Mm-hmm. Not all tips are newsworthy. We'll try our best, but not all of them are newsworthy.
That being said, even if you leave a tip and we don't write an article about it, we will still look into it for you and give you personally an answer to what it is you're looking for. Not every tip might equal an article, but we're going to look into every tip. And so if we find anything out, we will still let you know what we find out, even if it doesn't amass to an article.
Well, from the Wise News Network studios and also a North Carolina Press Association member, I'm Rusty Wise.
I'm Mason Beam.
And I'm Grace Smith.
Until next time, see you later.